Today I'm going to be speaking about my fourth miscarriage. My fourth miscarriage, I made it to 6 weeks and 3 days. With this pregnancy, I'll give a backstory. So basically, after my third miscarriage, we were instructed to not try and conceive. So I was like, okay, that's no worries, because they obviously wanted to start the investigations into why we were not able to carry a pregnancy. So they scheduled our bloods for the 18th of September. So myself and my husband, we went into Letterkenny Hospital to get our bloods done. So we got our thrombophilia and our karyotypin. At this point, I'd already been like 6 days late, but because the previous miscarriage was only 2 months away, like 2 months ago, I wasn't too worried because I was like, okay, it's just my body trying to regulate itself. So I went into the appointment on the 18th of September 2023 to get the karyotypin because it had to be 16 weeks after your previous miscarriage. So I went and got those bloods done and came home and I was like, I'm actually 6 days late on my period. I turned around to my husband and said that. And I was like, I think I'm going to go into the shop just to get a pregnancy test, just to check. And he was like, all right, no worries. I was like, I don't think it is because my app that I use, my period tracking app, but I've also been using it for my fertility. It basically turned around, it told me that I had ovulated on the Tuesday. Then myself and my husband, we obviously decided to do the baby dance. I was like, oh, I'm not going to get pregnant. And then my app changed after I had done the baby dance, and I think it could have been a week later, and I was like, what? I was so shocked. I was like, my app told me that I had ovulated the Tuesday. Then I was like, okay, I calculated it so that I wouldn't get pregnant. I don't think I'm making any sense here. So basically I calculated it that if we did have sex, that I wouldn't get pregnant because the ovulation date was the Tuesday. And then I checked the app anyways, like a week later or something. I was like, the app lied to me. I was like, it told me I ovulated on the specific day, and now it's after changing to the date that we actually had intercourse. I was like, no. I was like, because the doctor told us that we can't get pregnant. Well, they advised that we shouldn't because they have to do a lot of testing. And I was like, fucking hell. And I was like, I hope I don't get pregnant now. Like, because I just didn't want to mess up the whole flow of things. I was like, we're finally after like having the third miscarriage. The investigations are starting to happen. I was like, if I did get pregnant, I was like, it would just throw a huge spanner into the works. So anyways, the 18th of September, I went out and I got the pregnancy test and I came back home and bing, positive. And I was like, what are the chances? I was like, that is just mad. I was like, either the stars are aligning. I was like, it's meant to be. I was like, this pregnancy, we weren't actually trying. We were trying not to get pregnant. And we got pregnant, and I was like, oh my god, this is the one, this is gonna be it. But then my husband was a bit on the fence. He's like, until I actually see something on the ultrasound, he was like, then I can kind of get a little bit excited. At this point, this is our fourth miscarriage. We had still never seen anything on an ultrasound. I'd either lost the baby beforehand, it was a pregnancy of an unknown location. The third miscarriage where they did see it, like there was nothing, it was just like a sac. I didn't see like a beating heart or anything like that. But they never actually showed it to me. They just said, oh, it's now coming into the uterus, I can see it. So with this miscarriage, I was like, okay, that's fine. We weren't trying, maybe it is it. So I went to the doctors and it was interesting, the approach that they had this time. So they didn't draw my HCG. They're like, no, like we're not going to do your HCG this time, because we find that doing the HCG bloods puts a lot of pressure on the lady because you're constantly tracking the numbers, going, oh my god, did they rise? No, they didn't rise. So she's like, I don't want to do your bloods. She's like, I'm just going to refer you straight to the clinic. I was like, that's absolutely amazing. I was like, I appreciate that. So I got the positive on the 18th of September. And I made the appointment with the doctor and they scheduled me to the fertility clinic up in Letterkenny Hospital. And I had my first ultrasound on the 28th of September, so it was literally like a week after that I got the ultrasound done. And they confirmed that yes, I was 5 weeks and 3 days pregnant. And they did the ultrasound, they did the transvaginal ultrasound. They're like, we'll do this because obviously you're very early on, it'll basically be able to tell, and you'll be able to see a lot more, so you will. So they did the transvaginal ultrasound, and finally they finally saw something on the scan which I'd never seen before. They saw a little sac, a little baby, a little heartbeat just flickering like that. It was honestly phenomenal to see, and it was such a privilege to be able to get to see that, honestly, would not having seen it ever. So that was so lovely to be able to see that. So they confirmed the pregnancy and they printed out my little ultrasound, and I brought that home with me, and I still have it and I'll always have it. I remember that moment so vividly, just seeing the look on my husband's face and him not realizing that it was an actual heart flickering, and it was for me to relay that to him. I'm like, that's the baby's heart. Just the look on his face was so lovely. Then they decided to schedule another scan the next week, like the following week. So I went in the 6th of October, so it was a Friday. I went in, and it was the same gynecologist that I've been seeing for a good while. And basically she popped me up on the table and we done the transvaginal ultrasound, and basically they did the ultrasound and they could see the sac, they could see the baby, but there was no heartbeat anymore. So it crushed me, absolutely crushed me, to get my hopes up so much, to actually see the little flicker on the last ultrasound, and for that to be taken away from me again was absolutely awful. So the gynecologist gave me a few minutes just to kind of take it all in, and we just basically spoke on the next steps as to what was actually happening. So she asked me, what did I want to do? Did I want to let it pass naturally, or did I want to go in for a DNC? So I was like, yes please, I want to go in for a DNC. But I also forgot to mention as well, before I started this pregnancy, because it was my 4th one, my doctor put me on progesterone and aspirin as well. So I had been taking that religiously through the whole pregnancy. And I think that's probably, in my own head, I think that's probably why I got so far in the pregnancy. But then as well, I think by taking that, my body couldn't react to me having a miscarriage. So I think if I hadn't have gone in for that scan, then I probably wouldn't have had the miscarriage for about another 3 weeks or something like that. So myself and my partner decided that I wanted to get the DNC. So this appointment was on the Friday the 6th of October, and they basically scheduled me in for the DNC on the Monday the 9th of October. So I went in that morning at I went in the Sunday, because they said if you have a bed in the hospital already, you're more inclined to get seen straight away in the morning to get the DNC done. So I went up that Sunday evening, and they gave me a bed by myself, and then the next morning they woke me up, and I got woken at like 5 o'clock in the morning. But I got woken up by the anesthesiologist, and they basically pushed the cannula in my arm, and just went over the whole checklist and stuff like that, and do I approve for tests and further testing to be done on the fetus after they've taken it out, and that, which I wanted done, because after so many miscarriages of not knowing what had happened, I definitely wanted to figure out what was going on. So any kind of testing to try and find that out would definitely be very beneficial for us. So they gave me a tablet transvaginally, and basically that helps break down all of the tissues on the inside to try and basically make you push everything out. So they gave that to me at like 6 o'clock in the morning, but unfortunately I didn't even go into the surgery until around 12 o'clock that day. But from the actual tablet itself, it started pushing loads of stuff out and loads of blood and helping me have the miscarriage basically. So anytime I went to the toilet, I had to make sure that I left the tray in case there was any tissues or anything like that. And I think the last time I went to the toilet before the actual DNC, I passed a good bit of tissue. So I called the nurse and they basically took that away, and they said that they're going to send that off for testing as well, along with whatever they pull out from the surgery. So I got brought up to the surgery, and the guy was just asking me loads of questions, like where am I from and all that kind of stuff. And then he was like, just take a big deep breath. So I took a big deep breath in, and I just remember waking up in recovery, and I was like, whoa, that was just crazy. That was a whirlwind. But I didn't feel a thing. I think 2 days after post-surgery or post-DNC, I was getting like small mild cramping in that. So I bled a little bit after the actual surgery, the day after, and then I didn't start bleeding for like another 2 days after the surgery. So I bled for 5 days after the surgery, then stopped for a week, then bled again, and I think that was it really in regards to the bleeding. It finally stopped, I think. But it was definitely, if you are going through this, I would recommend getting the DNC, because they're taking everything out and they're able to send that for testing. So in regards to this miscarriage, I found out that the reason why I miscarried obviously was it was a triplody. So basically it had 3 different chromosomes abnormalities basically. So that was the reason why I miscarried this pregnancy. So after this, I was told to try not to get pregnant again, and they were going to schedule me in for a hysteroscopy. I obviously had to wait a certain amount of time for my body to heal and stuff like that. So the hysteroscopy was on the 1st of December 2023. So I went in for this, and they basically just went in with a camera into my vagina and up to my uterus and that as well, and found out that I only had one opening to my fallopian tubes. So then that kind of obviously raised a lot of red flags in regards to that. So they didn't do anything with the hysteroscopy, just solely just looking in to see what was going on. And then they came back out and they're like, okay, I think the best option for you at this moment in time would be to get you in for a laparoscopy. So I do have a video of this on my TikTok channel if anyone wants to look at it, but I'll give you a brief description. So I went in for my laparoscopy surgery on the 6th of March 2024. So during this procedure, it was solely just going in and investigating. They weren't taking anything out or anything like that. They basically diagnosed me with a unicornuate uterus. So basically I only have half of a uterus. So it's kind of shaped like that. It's got no horn on it. So they diagnosed me with that. And as I previously mentioned at the beginning, I think of my first video, that I had already started the referral process for the IVF clinic. So now I had already sent off my documents for the fertility clinic in the January, and I basically disclosed in the notes that I was due to get a laparoscopy done, but hasn't obviously been done yet. So it was so crazy that the day that I came out of my surgery, the 6th of March, I received a call from the fertility clinic, and I was like, this is just crazy. So it was the nurse basically booking me in for my first appointment. So I had my first appointment with the nurse on the 30th of April. So from there on the conversation that I had with her on the phone, and I think going into this as well, it's nice for other people to know that your first appointment is basically, It's going to be a very long appointment. Ours was around 2 hours, where she was going through my husband's history as well, and my history, like from start to finish. And I previously had filled out like a questionnaire of the timeline of all of my miscarriages and stuff like that. So at least I didn't have to remember the specific days because they were already written down in front of her. But the first appointment will be with your nurse. And that appointment with your nurse will basically entail her going through all of your history. Any bloods that she needs to get done from you, you'll get them done on the day. And also she'll do a scan. That's all that's going to be entailed in that appointment. So I just don't want you to get your hopes up. There is some cases, obviously, that are less high risk than mine, where she could basically be able to give you an indication of what the doctor might think the path you will go down. As we're with mine, because it's high risk and I've had a lot of complications in the past, she wasn't able to give me an idea of what path the doctor will be going down. So I have the doctor's appointment in September, where she will go through what process she thinks will work for me and my husband. And I have seen a lot of positive results of people that have gone through IVF with unicornuate uteruses. If you are yourself going through a pregnancy, or you are somebody that's been recently diagnosed with unicornuate uterus, if you are to obviously get pregnant, in itself, it is very, very high risk. I won't be able to deliver naturally. It'll have to be cesarean. But the lady I do follow on Instagram, she's had 2 successful IVFs and 2 babies, and she has the unicornuate uterus as well. So I love reading success stories, and hopefully you can follow along with my journey, and hopefully it'll be a success story too. But thank you so much for tuning in, and I do have an Instagram as well, and a TikTok page as well, where I post more content that is more short form as well. So if you wanted to check that out, I can leave it in the description. But thank you so much, and I hope you have a great day.